Oh wow, we are live. So I normally don't go live on this page. I typically go live and discuss topics on my Patreon. I do have that link below, but I decided to go live on this page. And the reason why I decided to go live on this page is because uh, I want to continue to push the importance of culture as it relates to hoodoo so that people can understand what hoodoo is. And when people do not understand what hoodoo is, it gives the idea that hoodoo has no real significance and importance, any form of structure, or anything like that. In fact, when you do not stress the cultural aspect as it relates to hoodoo, um, it gives people a thought that anybody can practice it, that hoodoo is universal, that people would think that hoodoo is universal, that everyone has a type of hoodoo, and that is not true. Hoodoo is very much ancestral based, therefore cultural based, and the parent of all traditions is its culture. The parent of all spiritual traditions or even religions is its culture. So hoodoo culture has to be respected. Now, I'm going to give you an example here. And the example is because, or it's based off of the fact that even the things that we work with in hoodoo, the reason why we do things, there is an explanation. And that explanation is in the lore. It is in the lore of hoodoo. And it's very important to learn the lore, to learn the tales of hoodoo. Because if you learn the tales of hoodoo, you learn about the spirits of hoodoo. If you learn about the spirits of hoodoo, you learn about the workings of hoodoo. Therefore, you will understand hoodoo on a different level where that it can actually resonate, or you actually um, may figure that you have to study more, because there is reasoning behind everything that we do in hoodoo, and it can be explained via our I dare say it, cultural literary arts expressions, via lore. I shared a couple of posts in regards to horseshoes earlier, or maybe one. Maybe it was one, but I've written many. And did you all know that we have lore explaining why we hang a horseshoe over the door? You don't have to guess or anything like that. The lore even explains the reason why we hang it and how that came to be. It also explains, um, and I'm going to tell you the story on this live too, so bear with me, so you all will know the story. It also explains the elements, and that is included in hoodoo. You know, a lot of people understand that Abrahamic um, introduction, or there is an interwoven of understanding is in hoodoo, um, and a lot of that is actually within our lore, within hoodoo lore. It's in our stories. A lot of people are familiar with other cultural stories, right? Spiritual stories and traditions. And you all feel free to comment on live and things of that sort. If you have any questions, I am here. But anyways, a lot of people are familiar with cultural stories explaining why they do things spiritually in different cultures. But a lot of people do not acknowledge that hoodoo has this because they don't know it exists. And so I'm here to tell you that it does exist, you know, and just to put you in mind, so that you have an understanding, not to compare, but that so that you can actually understand. Much like a lot of people view Orisha worship, People know about patakis, which means important, or they know about itans, which speaks of the story. And anybody that knows why maybe the look at me call these stories, which is itans, um, important, which means pataki means important, it's because the stories are important. It allows you to do a deep dive of what is going on. So, for example, with the horseshoe, there is a narrative that is recorded. You can actually find this written. And so we have a lot of these things written down. There's a narrative recorded August 4th, 1934. You can actually find this in the slave narratives of why we hang the horseshoe over the door. Right? So it's very short and it's very simple. It's a couple of different lores, but here's one. Okay. And in the story, it talks about, the devil traveling and he got sore feet. And, they use descriptions in the story talking about, the devil was lame. Lame meaning he couldn't walk. And in the story, the devil went to the blacksmith shop. And the blacksmith actually put shoes on him. So the shoes are the horseshoes. So this story actually talks about the importance of the blacksmith as well. The power of the blacksmith. The blacksmith hands are so powerful and blessed, according to Hoodoo, that the blacksmith had the ability to even shoot the devil, someone of supernatural powers. And so the devil went to the blacksmith, and the devil traveled longer, and the shoe started to hurt his feet, And, it actually, the shoes made the devil lamer or couldn't walk even more. And so what he did is he asked the blacksmith to take off the shoes. So therefore, the devil is now making a pact or a deal, in a sense. This is where it, is going to lead to with the blacksmith. This is how powerful the blacksmith is. And it's liable to say that the blacksmith actually did this on purpose. Did it on purpose so that there is a strategy to be protected against the devil. So according to Hoodoo, the blacksmith took off the shoes under the condition that wherever the devil saw the horseshoe over a door, he would not enter. And it said, according to Hoodoo, that is the reason why we hang horseshoes over our door. It is also to bring in luck, but also with luck, you need protection. And it also says, according to Hoodoo, a used horseshoe is very important too, as well. But anyways, as long as you have a horseshoe over your door, you at least have protection against negative forces that try to knock at your door. And in Hoodoo lore, it explains this. The lore is in our culture. As I said, this story is actually recorded in what the Slave Narrative Project, And so the reason why the Writers Project actually existed is to preserve culture, tradition. So it is recorded and it does not get lost. This was in 1934. Of course, the story existed before the recording. And like I said, there's stories beforehand that speaks of the reason why we hang the horseshoe over the door. And so this gives an understanding as the reason why African Americans hang the horseshoe over the door, how it can be indicative to us. Our reasoning is indicative to Hoodoo indicative to African Americans, as opposed to why others may hang the horseshoe over the door. Now, the basics may be the same. They may say for luck or protection. Us too. Yes, absolutely. But the difference is within the lore. The explanation is within the lore. The difference and the identity is within the culture, which is expressed in the lore. And we need to make sure that we do not throw that away. Because when we throw away these cultural aspects, we lose the indicative identity that Hoodoo has. We can't be screaming all day long that Hoodoo is African American, Black American, or indicative to the United States if we do not preserve the intricate technicalities and the tenets that is expressed and has been expressed by our ancestors, giving it a full identity with culture, you know. So I just want to get on here and go live. Let me see. I don't see any comments here. No comments. I thank you all for listening. I do. I thank you all for listening. As I said before, I typically go live and just talk on my Patreon whenever I feel like it. And so with that being said, if you all want to become members of the Patreon, I suggest you do so. All members, whether they are paid or free, they do get a sneak peek, or they are able to join the live. You know, and then I do have lives that are particular to certain tiers. But all members are welcome to join the lives when they are on my Patreon. But this is a bigger audience here. I wanted to get this message out. It is very important. I want you all to, you know, help me preserve the culture of Hoodoo, so that we can keep Hoodoo alive and what it represents and who it represents. All right. So you all, you have a blessed day. I will talk to you later. And remember, that's exactly what you are. You are blessed.